Welcome to Plantish Live. I'm Nina Curtis, and I'm excited to welcome you, join you into our Tuesday live. My co-host Sesavec Randall and I go live Tuesdays, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's always a good time when we go live. So as you join us, please come in and let us know where you're tuning in from and what your beverage of the day is, and we will rock and roll from there. I know that we've got a great conversation. A multidisciplinary citizen scientist practicing mycology, phycology, microbiology, and so much more. So we can't wait to welcome him. Hello, Chef.
Hi, Chef. How are you?
How you doing?
All is well. How are you?
You know, it's Tuesday, right?
The weeks go by so quickly. I can't believe it's been a week since we last spoke with Mala Girl. Oh my goodness.
I know it goes by so quickly. Always, or I always gauge my week by Tuesdays.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. So we are going to be speaking with Will today, Will Padilla-Brown. You know, I look back at my notes, Chef, and we last spoke to him on that other platform, CH, in July of 2022. Talk about where
Almost
does time
3
go, right?
years. Wow. Almost 3 years.
Yeah,
Wow.
it just flies, and I'm like, okay, here we go. I know he's a busy man. He's been, doing so much with what he does with his studies in mycology and phycology
Mhm.
and microbiology. I'm really excited to see how he's expanded. I know MycoFest is, coming up, so we'll talk about that. And I know he'll be joining us shortly. And yeah, how's everyone doing joining us live? We know we have a lot of people that will watch when we post the replay. But for those of you that have been able to join us, just let us know where you're coming in from. And we're excited to have you. And Will is going to be joining us. And we're going to get this party started. How many of you enjoy mushrooms, and to what degree? Because I think you're going to find, hello, Will, how are you?
Doing good. How y'all doing?
Good,
You
good. Thank
know,
you.
we showed up.
Yep. We here. We here. I'm outside.
That's half the battle. You know, Will, I was looking in my notes from 2022. That's the last time we had, I'll say, a depth of conversation because we communicate here and there. But I have 9 pages of notes I took from our last conversation.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I definitely go deep. I tell people a lot of times that when I'm communicating with people through platforms like this, or if I have an hour-long talk somewhere, that I'm treating it as if it's a zip file because we will all have the time to go back later and go through what I said. So I'll talk really fast and I'll introduce a lot of complex ideas that require unpacking.
All right, our chat is already sharing how much they love mushrooms. Chantel, lobster, oyster, morel. Others are saying, yeah, totally love mushrooms. You know, when someone says to me, Will and Chef, I know you've heard this, oh, I don't like mushrooms. I'm always like, well, which ones?
Mm-hmm.
Which ones are you
Mm-hmm.
referring to? Because typically I have found from a culinary point, it's been the white button mushrooms that are on the typical salad bar, either in a restaurant or a store. And that is not the experience we're going to talk about today. So again, fam, we are speaking with Will Padilla-Brown. He is a multidisciplinary citizen scientist. He is practicing mycology, phycology, microbiology, and so much more. So with that, Will, Chef, how you doing over there?
Very good. Good. Listen, I have my mental checklist, my notes. So yeah, I'm ready. Let's
All
do
right.
this.
All right. So,
That's right.
Will, tell us how you got into fungi. Let's talk about the broad spectrum of it, and where you're at. Like, bring us up from 2022, maybe the highlights of what's brought you here. Yeah.
Okay, for sure. So, I got into mushrooms young. I got into mushrooms while I was still in high school, just because they're interesting. The alternative lifestyle, the counterculture type movement, and all this kind of stuff. There was a lot of um, second generation Grateful Dead lot families, like the kids that I went to school with. A lot of their parents were fans of the Grateful Dead. So there was like an influence of counterculture where I lived in central Pennsylvania. So yeah, I got interested in mushrooms when I was younger, and I was like very like immediately very concerned with the quality and of the mushrooms that were available on the street and things like this. So I started cultivating them. I had a young family, and I didn't want to be doing anything that may be considered illicit. So I started utilizing my skills with cultivating mushrooms to cultivate mushrooms that were not illicit. Um, so I've been doing that since I was like 17, 18 years old, and now I'm 31. And yeah, so since 2022, if we last talked in 2022, I probably had a full staff and was operating a farm in central Pennsylvania around then. Potentially, I don't remember where exactly my farm was back then. Um, Probably at the basement of an old Catholic high school, I think. Maybe
Okay.
that was 2023. But I had a farm, either a hemp insulated farm in a garage, or I was working in the basement of an old Catholic high school. I renovated to cultivate mushrooms in. Um, and yeah, I did. I've been cultivating mushrooms in and around Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, for most of my career for the past 10 years, operating Mycosymbiotics, which is an ecological research business focused on highlighting valuable aspects of the environment that are undervalued, and bringing them to people's attention and helping people to interact with them, so that we can increase ecological awareness, increase ecological literacy, help people um, to find value in nature and to be able to bring value into their lives, because I believe this is the best way to help protect the environment in this moment where people define success by economic gains. So I was like, all right, well, all value is based on a healthy environment. So if I can help people to understand this, then maybe we can get more people to care about protecting this because it's actually worth money, and then they'll see, that there's more to value besides money.
Yeah. 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 I think you were in the basement at the time when we last spoke. I mean, that conversation went on for 2+ hours. It was, people were just asking you questions. And, that was a time we would go live on Saturday and it might be 8 o'clock a.m. and we were getting off at noon or 1, and you were just hanging out with us. I know that at that time also you really were heavily, or you were into cordyceps, and that was something that you were really passionate about and you had a product. Is that still the case? I know you're doing some things with truffle, and yeah, what about that?
I definitely am still into cordyceps, but at this point I've trained. Oh, also anybody that's in here, if you hit the little airplane button on the bottom right and then send this to anybody that's on your page that has the green light on, shows that they're on, or anybody that that will be receptive of it, help get more people into the
Thank you.
place. But yeah, I'm still into cordyceps. At this point, I have I've been cultivating cordyceps and teaching people to cultivate cordyceps for 10 years. Um, and with as many students as I've trained to successfully cultivate cordyceps, it's not very necessary that I cultivate cordyceps anymore. If I were to cultivate cordyceps, I would charge a higher price for it because it's from me, and I would specifically, do things a certain way. So I buy cordyceps from my students. Actually, we just my steering committee. I'm part of a steering committee that just incorporated a cooperative for an agricultural cooperative. And initially, it was focused on, all right, I have literally thousands of students that I've trained in person, like how to grow mushrooms, how to do permaculture, all this kind of stuff. And I know a lot of my students aren't successful with business because a lot of my students could care less about business and think that money's the root of all evil and don't want to be associated with these things. Um, and good for them, but we all need money right now. So I said, how about we handle the business end of things? Because I used to be that person that didn't want to do business and wasn't good with business, but I wanted to grow mushrooms and I grew really quality mushrooms. So how about we all collect our mushrooms? We all buy all of our inputs together so that they're cheaper. And then we all sell our mushrooms at the same rate to these bigger corporations that are buying mushrooms from China. Because the only way that we'll compete, because like if you go to any grocery stores in the US, mushroom coffees, mushroom capsules, things like this, unless it explicitly says otherwise, there's Chinese mushroom powder in there. It's the cheapest way that everybody's making mushroom products in the whole US. Unless it's a small business and you know that they're growing mushrooms, they're probably not putting domestic mushrooms in their product. So the only way that we as domestic farmers can compete with this is by coming together and selling our mushrooms at a standardized rate, which all across the US, mushrooms are sold at different rates. And I'm not trying to change that. Like the fact that you could sell, your mushrooms for the most price in New York, Miami, and Los Angeles, that's going to stay the same. But we're going to standardize and make it so it's easier for a lot of us to be able to do this business and stay in this business. Um, so to round it back to your question, I buy all my cordyceps from my students. I've taught them how to grow with the same standard of quality. And soon we'll all be growing with the same cultures as well and with COAs on everything. We have COAs on some of our stuff at this point. So I've been focusing a lot more on truffles because my role in the community is best served as an individual that shines light onto different ideas. Um, I have the capacity to interact with the natural world and communicate with it in my own way. Um, and I'm also able to translate that into English. So I think that that's my function in a community is to continue to put myself in a place where I can interact and research the environment and expose that to the world. So right now I'm really, really hype on truffles because there's a lot going on in the world of truffles and it's all very new. I mean, humans been cultivating plants for 12,000 years. Humans been successfully cultivating truffles and mycorrhizal fungus for 60. So it's so new in the whole world, and most of the world has their eyes on European truffles and don't even realize that there's valuable North American truffles. So I'm here to just expose all of it. I'm making a documentary about truffles. Once I get back to Pennsylvania next month, I'm going to be setting up my lab to do more research focused on truffles.
I love it. Let's tap in a little bit more because our community is comprised. I know you have your community coming in, and Chef Sesabek and I have our community and beyond, how it's being pushed out. But let's tap into why should we be so interested in truffles? From a culinary standpoint, we've got chefs in here, we've got food service people in here, we've got somebody that wants to come out with a product that might be powdered, mushrooms. And then we have citizens, the community. Tell us a little bit in those levels why truffles are trending and beyond trending as you're into it.
Yes. So, um, there's this really interesting meta perspective that I have on why truffles are trending right now, and I don't want to be the person with the really big head, so I try not to talk about myself too much. But I
Okay.
realized what I did with cordyceps, and before I started talking about truffles, I was like, okay, truffles are going to start trending, so you have to get in on this wave. But truffles are also going to start trending because you're going to start talking about it so much, point blank. You know what I'm saying? So I've been talking about truffles since the end of the pandemic. People might think that this is something new. Since the end, during the pandemic, I'm going ham on truffles. I have pictures of me holding truffles since I grew my first mustache. Like I've been doing this, but like I've been talking about the science of truffles since the pandemic. I came out the pandemic going to all of these different events talking about truffles. Like I was like, yo, I've been talking about cordyceps almost 10 years. Now all my students are talking about cordyceps. Now I came out the pandemic talking about truffles and I told everybody, I'm like, all right, you guys are at my first talks. I might not know everything. I'm not fully an expert on truffles, but if you came to my first talks on cordyceps, I wasn't fully an expert. I had to talk to hundreds of people about cordyceps before I was the person that knew about cordyceps the way everybody knows. So I'm like, all right, thank you guys for being my first demonstration audience. Like, here we go. So I started like polishing this because it wasn't just, oh, here's truffles and here's why they're awesome. I also came out with a theory that I think truffles have been influencing mammalian brain development since the extinction of the dinosaurs.
Mm.
And I started putting together all of these different research papers during the pandemic because I had all this free time. And I'm like, yo, here's all the research that I can compile right now that says why I believe mammals' brain have been advancing because of truffles since the extinction of the dinosaurs. So, um, so there was my theory, and then there was, oh hey, why is everybody in the U.S. trying to cultivate European truffles when there's gourmet North American truffles here that we didn't even discover yet? And like at this point, I just knew they were there because I understood the ecology of truffles. I know that truffles are everywhere, especially everywhere there's trees. So I was like, all the truffles in North America are described in the Pacific Northwest. There's only a couple gourmet truffles described throughout the rest of North America. There has to be a bunch of undescribed truffles in North America that are gourmet. And since I started talking about this, multiple research papers have come out saying we discover new truffles in North America. Multiple research papers. I literally have a scientist coming out from Florida, Alisane So. I just posted him on my page today. He's going to be coming out talking about two species of truffles that he described, him and a couple other authors described last year. So it's just like boom, boom, boom. We got all these gourmet truffles, and how do you how do you how do you introduce a world to truffles? How do you introduce a new ingredient in the world? Like some of these ingredients have hundreds of years of use, thousands of years of use of understanding of humanity. And this is part of the reason why European truffles are so valued is because they have the longest history of utilization and understanding. Um, so I started making this documentary, and I started making this documentary to enlighten everybody. It's called Organic Nobility. I flew to Spain because Spain is the current largest production region of truffles in the world, and also they were the first to figure out how to cultivate truffles at scale. Um, then I flew to Oregon to film at the Oregon Truffle Festival because I connected with Charles Lefevre and had him come talk at my festival, and then he invited me to his festival, which is the Oregon Truffle Festival. And historically, the Oregon Truffle Festival is the reason why North American truffles are able to compete with the price of European truffles. Because prior to the Oregon Truffle Festival, everybody was raking truffles in the Pacific Northwest, which if you don't use an animal to find the truffles, it's unlikely that you will find them ripe. You can find truffles by raking and digging in the forest, but it's likely that they will not be ripe and they won't smell. Animals will find them when they actually are the way that we want to eat them. So um, he established the Oregon Truffle Festival. He started using dogs, and then he started doing blind taste tests of North American truffles versus European truffles, and people were picking the North American truffles time and time again. From this festival, they increased the price of North American truffles to over six, over $800 a pound, where they're competing with European truffles. But also, it was a culinary exposure, and now chefs across the Pacific Northwest know how to interact with these truffles. I personally believe that festivals are are introductions of new realities, ways of introducing people to new realities and introducing new culture. I've been witnessing it with MycoFest in central Pennsylvania. Now there's a new myco-literate crowd of people in central Pennsylvania that we don't have to just say, this is what mycelium is. Like they know what mycelium is, you know? So I know that by doing these festivals and by celebrating these things and by exposing people to these things, that we can introduce this culture, get people familiarized with truffles, and then also establish a market for it. And it is in this will change so many people's lives. This will introduce so much beautiful culture in North America. Imagine families that forage truffles. Imagine families that farm truffles, like our own truffles from the Americas. Like that's our culture. This is our culture. This is new culture. This is emergent culture, and I want to represent it and I want to expose it.
I like it. You always bring the energy, Will. You always bring it. And, the transparency, and I think always the cultural aspect of community. Most people have experienced synthetic truffles, oil, and even other synthetic, or like you said, how do you gauge the quality when you get it dry, or it's in food? So what would be one way to identify quality truffles, and then what are the top three benefits of why we should really seek out quality truffles for our health benefit and other?
Okay. Um, Well, the best truffle is going to be the one that's closest to you and most recently pulled out of the earth. So If you're in New York City, this might be European varieties. That, or I mean, when I say these might be European varieties, they might not have been cultivated in Europe, because the black truffles are now also cultivated in Australia, South Africa, Chile, New Zealand, and a couple other countries. But they're still the European varieties that everybody's cultivating, even in these countries that have the whole, like, I'm geeking about, why are we growing European truffles in North America and we have North American varieties? They're growing these in all different countries that has their own varieties that are native there, but they're growing these European varieties because they're the ones that demand the most value on the market, because this is the one that the market knows. Um, so if you're in New York City, it might be these European varieties. If you're in the Pacific Northwest, it might be the Pacific Northwest varieties. If you're in Texas, it might be some pecan truffles, but you got to really figure out who has them and where to get them, and also who has them from a farm that's not spraying chemicals all over the place. Um,
Mm.
if you're in Asheville, North Carolina, it might be the Blue Ridge truffle or the Appalachian truffle. If you're in Northern Maryland, it might be the Appalachian truffle. If you're in Quebec, Canada, it might be the Appalachian truffle. If you're in South Carolina, it might be Tuber borkii, grown on loblolly pine at Burwell Farms. So it's like, you got to figure it out. You got to get truffle literate. You got to tap into your local truffle community, because there are people cultivating truffles all around the world, that you can get fresh. And because it's so niche right now, a lot of people are demanding high prices, which they should, and this will drive the market and help to increase the understanding. Um, so the best truffle is always going to be the one that's closest to you, that was pulled out of the ground soonest, because they start to degrade over time. The classical European truffles, most of them you're going to want to consume them within 7 to 15 days, like 2 weeks max, because they're gonna be and this is something that most people don't tell you. Most people will just say, yeah, you got to consume them in like 5 days, 4 or 5 days. Nah, like I've seen truffles from Europe that's like definitely 2 weeks from when they got pulled out of the ground. Has to be. And they're still producing gas, and they're beautiful. Part of the thing is you have to understand um, how to store them. You can't just put them in a container and then keep them in there, and then 4 days later, when you're ready, go get them. They're going to be gross. You have to actively, on a daily basis, open them up multiple times, let them gas out, but don't let them dry out, and then make sure they're wrapped in a moist towel that's not too wet, and then has like some level of like dry. Like, it's like you have to create a living environment. You just pull them out the soil, and they are a living entity that is an active chemical factory that's still producing the aromas that we want. So we got to keep it alive, and keep it good in that way. So if you're doing all of those things, um, yeah, you can keep it up to 2 weeks. And there's some varieties in North America that can last even longer,
Right.
culinarily, and some that ripen. And like these are like caveats that, like, some people are like, truffles don't ripen out of the soil. And most of what we know, again, is based off of European knowledge. But some varieties that we are working with are better after they ripen. No, we should not store truffles at room temperature. They should be cold, as close to freezing as possible, honestly. As close to freezing as possible, wrapped in a moist paper towel, in a paper bag inside of a plastic bag, in a paper bag inside of a container. Um, but yeah, that's the best way to keep them. So, uh, truffles, again, on that note, before I answer the rest of the question, I think it's very interesting because, like, no matter how rich you are, you can't just have a truffle when you want it. You have to wait on nature. So, um, besides that, why do people want this, for their health? All mushrooms are medicinal. All mushrooms are medicinal, even the ones that can kill you. You just have to separate the toxins from them. Like some of the most potent medicinal mushrooms are the ones that have toxins that can kill us, but they need to be separated. Um, so understanding that all mushrooms are medicinal, and then kind of understanding the ecological context of why different fungi are medicinal. Paul Stamets has a really good quote when he talks about this mushroom called agaricon that grows on trees for decades. He says this mushroom's growing on this tree for decades with all sorts of organisms all around it that want to eat it, like viruses, bacteria, pathogens that want to kill it, and it's able to live there for decades. It's producing novel antibiotic, antiviral compounds to be able to resist all these things in the environment. So he's like giving some environmental context as to why it may be so potent as an antiviral, antibacterial. So when we think about truffles are growing underground sometimes for 3, 4 months before they're mature in the soil where everything wants to eat everything. The soil is the most diverse ecosystem. There's millions, thousands, and millions of organisms all over the place. Bugs, bacteria, fungi, everything wants to eat. And truffles resist being consumed until they're ready to be consumed. And then they're also some of the most chemically diverse mushrooms because they need to be found by organisms that are walking around in the environment because they can't release their spores into the air. They need something to eat them and drop their spores. They need something to dig them up, eat them, and then go poop the spores somewhere. So to do this, they make some of the most complex aromas made up of some of the most desirable compounds and mimicking some of the most desirable aromatic compounds in the environment, right? So like they don't just depend on one animal in the environment to eat them, they depend on many animals in the environment to eat them. So to do this, they smell like things that all of these animals desire in that environment.
Mhm.
I oftentimes have said that truffles are a distillation of the flavors and aromas of that environment. Like if you talk about terroir or like the flavor of the earth, truffles are the thumbprint signature distillation of that flavor of that place because it smells like all of the amazing things of that place that anything wants to eat so that all of those things are attracted to come find it and it smells so funky and complex because it smells like so many things at one time. I've exposed my children to many different truffles, and now we'll be out in the world and they'll smell a flower or a fruit or like the other day we opened a pack of dry bananas from Trader Joe's and they were like, "It smells like truffles in here," and they're gonna smell truffles in so many things for the rest of their life because truffles smell like so many things. If you were to split the aroma out, it's like your brain trying to smell like the whole grocery store at once or something, you know?
It's so sci-fi sounding. If someone's coming in, and welcome everyone, we are speaking with Will Padilla-Brown. He is a multidisciplinary citizen scientist practicing mycology, phycology, microbiology, and so much more. Chef, how are you doing over
I'm
there?
just taking it all in. So much is landing for me. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I'm gonna have to watch this one a couple times just to digest everything that's been shared, but really good information. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you see? I'm trying to watch the chat. There's a lot going on. Do you see
Yeah.
anything specific to call out?
Let's see here. Let's just scroll through because we have an active chat today.
Yes.
Love mushrooms. I love portobello, oyster, shiitake. Uh, yeah, my grandmother would collect them within the forest, born in the country. Wow, that's amazing. From Alan, that's right. Doesn't have to say USA mushrooms. It's not USA. Okay. Truffles. So yeah, we don't have any questions right now, but
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
brought up.
Okay. So Will,
Um,
how do we, because I get a lot of people that can't place fungi, can't place mushrooms. They're like, well, is it meat? Is it animal? Or is it plant? How do you very quickly help them understand the fungi kingdom?
well, fungi is fungi. That's why I'm gonna say it straight up, like point blank. Like when we try to say, is it plant? Is it animal? Like it's fungi. We've been interacting with fungi forever. If you look at if you look at documentation of what early hominids were consuming, oftentimes it will say tubers. If you
Mm,
if you look at the diet of early hominids, on many occasions, many scientists will say early hominids ate tubers. The genus of truffles is literally tuber. Like if people were digging underground to eat the roots of plants, they were finding truffles. And the most decorated truffle scientist named James Trappy told me because there's a desert truffle called Terfezia that grows in the Middle East and Northern Africa with desert rock roses and other small flowering plants in the desert. There's some scientists that believe that this is the manna that the Israelites were finding in the desert that they were consuming during Exodus from Egypt, because it grows in this this environment. It literally grows whenever there's dew on the ground, and it's this big potato-like thing that people eat like more like a regular mushroom than a truffle. They don't like shave it. They like eat it like a food, like a potato. They put it in stews. So humans have been interacting with truffles since before we were even humans, the way that we know ourselves. Humans have been interacting with mushrooms and fungi since before then. So I like to just say off bat, mushrooms are mushrooms. But like some people to relate to most people that have no interaction with fungi or mushrooms, that there's some mix between plant and fungi, animal. Um, so I'm just gonna be the super nerd because that's who I am, and you can go listen to anybody else talk about mushrooms in a different way. But there is a super taxon. Taxons are groups that we describe live of life. So Animalia is one. Fungi, plants. There's different taxons of life. There's a super taxon called a pisticons, where Animalia branches off of. Um, Animalia branch.
We'll be back momentarily. You know how technology does, and when we're speaking truth, sometimes the internet can't handle it. So let's see how we go. How
Okay,
you
I'm
doing,
back.
Chef? All right, you're back.
So yeah, when we look at the like tree of life, which is way more clear to us now that we have molecular biology available to us. When we look at the tree of life, I have a just to branch off on a quick note. I'm just gonna be myself. I don't have to apologize
Please
for being
be,
myself.
please
Yeah.
be, please be.
Um,
Yeah.
the I have a talk called the biological alpha and omega, where I elaborate on why I believe algae and fungi are the alpha and omega of biology. I think that algae is the alpha and fungi is the omega. Algae is the beginning, fungi is the end. Um, when whenever algae emerges on a terrestrial body, which we can see from our Earth, it created the first mass extinction called the Great Oxygenation, because when algae emerged or cyanobacteria like the spirulina I grow, when bacteria mutated and was able to take in sunlight and turn it into sugar and do photosynthesis, they started creating oxygen, and they created an oxygenic atmosphere that killed everything else that was living in a non-oxygenic rich atmosphere, anaerobic atmosphere. They created an aerobic atmosphere, but aerobic atmosphere, it allows for terrestrial metabolism. So before algae emerges, no life can exist on Earth and be walking around or doing anything on top of the Earth in having life. So algae emerges and creates life, atmosphere, a bubble that's capable of life the way that we know it. Fungi and algae come out of the ocean together and terrestrialize. They do all these life experiments, create trees, create all these different things. Um, and as fungi continues to emerge, as the organism that consumes what the algae is producing, eventually it branches off into animalia, where it encapsulates its digestive tract instead of living in its digestive fluid. So we are more like fungi than we even know, and because of this, I insist with my theory, the truffled vole theory, that fungi and mycelium are inciting us in our nervous system to be more like it, because our nervous system already looks like mycelium branches, and the more that we diversify, the more it looks like branched mycelium. um, so I went really far out. I don't even honestly remember what the question was particularly. Um, but
It was
um,
identifying fungi for people to place the difference in animal and plant kingdom.
yeah.
And you started off with fungi is its own kingdom. It's fungi. And
Mhm.
you answered it. You gave us, I think a lot of food for thought to chew on, no pun intended.
For
But
sure.
that's what happens when we talk to Will, and that's why we love you and we love your, your study of fungi and mushrooms and all that you're doing. So thank you for that, because people are going to need to allow this conversation to digest, in my opinion, to the degree they're ready for it. They
Hmm.
might go back to that white button mushroom on the salad bar, and that's fine. Or they may seek out North American truffles in their area. And that's what we're looking to incite a curiosity about this food, this substance, this kingdom in its own. And you're coming up on your 10th anniversary of MycoFest, right?
Um, this is actually the 11th
11th.
anniversary. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
11th, even better.
y-
Congratulations.
yeah, yeah. It's really crazy. It's weird how it's like that too, because like I started it in 2015,
Okay.
but like if we would have done the one during the pandemic, this would have been the 11th like
Oh,
actual
okay.
Myco
Yeah.
Fest. So like we just counted it like, all right, this is Myco Fest 11. Um, so yeah, yeah. Shoot, yeah, my son's about to be 11. Myco Fest is 11. It's crazy. Um, yeah, yeah. This year we're doing it in central Pennsylvania. We've
Okay.
been doing it at this venue called Mead Arboretum for the past, this will be our third year doing it there. We really love this place. It's in Center Hall, right near State College where Penn State is. And yeah, we have a really incredible lineup for this year. We're kind of taking it back to the roots, but also pushing this kind of like solar punk energy, in a sense of like, um, I connected with a bunch of my mentors and teachers and influences from when I got started in permaculture and mycology, and asked them if they would like to present so that my audience can have an interaction with the intelligence that brought me to where I am. And we're also bringing in Charles Eisenstein, who's a philosopher, an author, a free thinker, and a very intentional mind in creating the better worlds that our hearts know is possible. Um, to guide conversation, we're bringing in my friend Ebony Gustav, who's also one of the part of the steering committee for the Mycosymbiotics Cooperative, who is active uh, active and engaging in the solidarity economy and has helped start nonprofits based in the solidarity economy to be talking about this at MycoFest.
Nice.
Um, because and then it's just going to be a lot of hands-on experience. So we're going to be doing like a lot of hands-on mushroom experiences. There's going to be koji fermentation. There's going to be mushroom inoculations. There's going to be forays into the forest. People got to sign up for the forays because we get so many people that want to go in the forest. It's just like not ecologically responsible to take that many people in the forest at one time. So we have a lot of different places that we go, different leaders. So we're going to be starting to do foray signups. We have an incredible lineup of music that's going to happen. So it's a 3 day event, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, August 1st through the 3rd. It's camping, and then there's live music on Friday and Saturday night, and then educational events all throughout the days. Really incredible food. Food vendors come out. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun. It's really family friendly also. But just to get back on that tip, like this year, we're really, really pushing intentional community building and interdependence at MycoFest, because I don't want it to just continue to end for so many people after the festival. Because for a lot of us, it doesn't. There's a whole community of people that are continuing engagement throughout the year to the point where we support each other economically. I'm going over to teach with you. You're coming over to teach with me. We're doing these events together throughout the year after MycoFest. We continue to make sure that our bills are paid together. And with this co-op, we're doing that in a really big way. So we're going to definitely be introducing the co-op, but also driving this conversation of how do we intentionally create this community of interdependence, and what are our assets and how are we working these assets and how are we building, and how are we going to continue to engage on this planet that we share with each other for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, no doubt. And I have to ask, for those of us that aren't in Philadelphia and those of us that may not be able to attend, will there be any aspects of online or live streaming? I know not out in the forest necessarily, or will there be replay that people can, purchase after the festival or during the festival?
Um, we haven't planned it out for this year. We usually do get recordings, and I have a hard drive filled of material from the years. I just need to organize and get that together and get that out there. It's the LA sounds. Um,
Yeah, full time, full stop.
Yeah, but I really when I get back to Pennsylvania, I'm gonna be hiring an assistant. I did put a call out for a manager, but I realized that that's not necessarily what I need. I'm more so need an assistant for now. But once I get some assistants, I'm going to be I have a lot of material. Like I have unfinished books. I have tons of unpublished videos. I have unpublished whole online courses. I have SOPs for products that are not being manufactured right now. I have so many things that can be making a lot of people a lot of money that are not being
Mhm.
engaged with because I'm just not in the position to do it. And being who I am, I don't get the same economic opportunities as other people do. Um, Not to say that I'm like disadvantaged in any way, but in the sense of like being able to go to the bank and get loans and all that kind of traditional stuff. I mean, some banks won't even let me open accounts. So, um, uh, yeah. So I'm gonna get back. I'm gonna get to the work because nobody's gonna do it but you. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna go employ people and make it happen again.
Do you need a physical assistant with you, or is this a virtual assistant? I mean, we're right here. We're going to put up the replay. Somebody might listen and be interested to reach out to you. I've pinned your website link in the chat, fam, so you can find that there. I'll pin it also when I do the post for the replay, but somebody might know somebody that knows somebody, as they say.
hmm I'm currently looking for somebody that is able to be in central Pennsylvania at least once or twice a month, because I do have a lot of in-person stuff that we need to do. But as I continue to build, which I expect to be a lot really quick, I'm sure there will be a need for some virtual assistance. And who knows? I mean, like we're still very early into the co-op, but the co-op is a national co-op,
Okay.
so it's going to be broad reaching, and we may need help from people around the country. So definitely
Nice.
keep an ear open and eyes open.
For sure. That's what community is about. And that's what we have found Plantish Live does best, because we're right here and we have people live with us, but it's evergreen. And then you start getting comments and follow up, sometimes months later. Chef, I know you have some questions for Brother Will.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, you gave us a lot to digest here. I'm just over here soaking it all in. But I have some quick fire questions. You can answer these in a couple sentences or 30 seconds, minute, however you feel called to do so. But yeah, the first question that I have for you is what is your favorite mushroom to eat and why?
I like to eat maitake because it's really delicious and easy to work with if you're used to only working with meat, proteins, and things like this. Also, it's really good to incorporate with meat to reduce the amount of meat that you're consuming, if that's something that you're interested in doing. And yeah, it's very abundant where I live in Pennsylvania, so it's easy to get a lot of it, and it stores very well. So I feel like it's just like a really beautiful gift. Um, that nature gives us right before winter comes, and it's just delicious the whole way through winter.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, next question. What's one book or documentary that caught your attention recently?
The Life of Oaks, I think it's called. It's a book by Douglas Tallamy. Yeah, it's called The Nature of Oaks, by Douglas Tallamy. I read that book; it was really good. I also read this book, Truffle Hound, that was really good. Um, and besides that, I really haven't been like reading or watching documentaries recently because life's been moving really, really fast. So yeah, those are the two last ones that like really had any sort of impact.
Okay, okay. Gonna have to check out those two for sure. Next question. If you could grow mushrooms anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
If I could grow mushrooms anywhere in the world, dang. I'll grow mushrooms in Puerto Rico for sure
Mm.
because that's where my paternal family lines are from. I've been out there. I've been out there many times to teach and engage with folks out there. Um, and it represents a unique position in the world where you can cultivate a lot of different varieties of mushrooms. A lot of like I could go there and cultivate all the varieties I cultivate up here in Pennsylvania, but I could also cultivate tropical varieties that are available in Southeast Asia only that are I don't have the climate for and will require too much energy to for me to grow in a northern region because it's humid there and it's tropical there. Yeah, I could set up a really really sick mushroom farm in PR.
Well, yeah, when you said that, it came to me vividly. I just visited Puerto Rico a couple of weeks ago. Have you ever considered doing like a retreat or a festival out there?
I did a permaculture course out there, which was like, and I've done mushroom classes out there. I would consider doing a retreat or some sort of festival out there. My buddy Ray with Moksha Arts Center, Moksha Retreat Center has some space out there in Maya Wez or outside Maya Wez that is really good for that. So I may collaborate with him again into the future, maybe next year or maybe the year after. I don't know. Um, the way I move, probably next year, but yeah, I would love to do more out there. I would love to take another whack at a permaculture design course, but that really just takes a lot of time, and I really want to offer the world the best experiences that I can. But yeah, I would totally do that.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye out for that for myself
Yeah.
because, yeah, I love Puerto Rico. Any chance I can get to the island, I'm there.
Hey.
So, next question. What's the one myth about mushrooms you'd love to debunk right now?
Um, everybody thinks that like mushrooms, fruiting bodies are like better than mycelium, but I don't think that they're better than mycelium. I don't think that mycelium is better than fruiting bodies. I think that they're both amazing for different reasons, and that you should use them for different reasons. And I think that that whole conversation devalues a lot of good medicine.
Mm,
Um, so I think that that's the biggest myth right now, is that one that mushrooms are better than mycelium or that mycelium is better than mushrooms. I think that people need to throw that out because they're people that need therapy and could benefit from both of them at the same time. So yeah, I think that's the biggest myth right now.
okay. Okay. Wow, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Last question I have for you is if your life had a soundtrack, what song would be playing as you forage through the forest?
Duh. Yeah, that's hilarious. Um, I don't know. I mean, it depends. Like, it depends on what forest, what I'm foraging, all that. Like, there's like mad moods and layers.
Yeah. Well, you can give us three. I mean, hey.
I mean, shoot, what have I been listening to recently? Let's see, pops up in my recents. Um, I'd probably be listening to I'd probably be listening to Supreme by I Am Rob, It's Cosmic, and Ajani. Yep, that's what I'd be
Mm,
listening to.
okay. Definitely gonna have to check those out. Sounds like a vibe.
Music
But yeah, that
video is
concludes.
out now for
Oh,
sure. Check it out.
oh,
Yeah,
okay. Plug. You answered the quick fire. You did amazing, and yeah, thank you so much for that.
yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah.
Chef always brings the quick fire, and the fam is like, me too, to what you're saying. And wishing everyone we see you, Elijah Joy, grateful for Viva Vita. Yes, let's
Grateful
grow.
for Vida. Yeah.
Would that be one? Yeah.
Yep, that's
Okay.
it.
I think that caught. Listen, Will, this has been great. Someone right now is listening to you, or they're going to listen later, and they're saying, I want to be that guy. I want to do what he does, what do you say to them? What are you going to tell them?
Um, Definitely, if you want to emulate anything from me that you admire, just recognize that I'm a mirror, and what I do is exemplify self-exploration. So just be yourself. Like, I go this hard, I exist like this, and I'm still here because I'm actively working on discovering self. Like every little bit of nature that I uncover, every little bit of society that I understand is a smudge off of the grand mirror of things. You know, everything is one, all is one. I fully resonate with this. So just do you, you know what I'm saying? Like you hold a unique position in space and time, as do I. You know what I'm saying? So like do your best to express yourself into this reality the way that I'm doing my best to express myself into this reality, because that's our gift, is to be ourselves and these unique gifts to each other. So
I
Yeah.
I don't think you could have said it better because you said it as you are, and you've got mic drop word, definite inspiration for sure. We are sending you all the love, all the light, all the flowers for you to continue to have the energy and the inspiration yourself to continue to do what you do. You know what I'm going to ask you. We're going to have you back. Will you join us again? And we're not going to wait 3 years.
you already know how to reach me, and I'm always receptive. This is always a great time.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, fam. Thank you for being here. We have been with Will Padilla-Brown. He is a multidisciplinary, a citizen scientist, practicing mycology, phycology, microbiology, and you know right now, so much more. We thank you. You could be anywhere, and you've chosen to spend this 45 minutes-ish time with us. Chef Sesabek, you know I'm going to ask you to send us off into all of our brilliance until we come back next Tuesday, as we do, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you don't want to miss next week like you didn't want to miss this week. I promised you it would be food for thought and so much more. So thank you again, Brother Will. And Chef, will you send us off and close us out?
Absolutely. Well, you're awesome. Thank you so much for being here and existing. So much food for thought, so many nourishing moments in this live. I can't wait to go back and watch it. To our audience, thank you so much for being here. To all those that are watching the replay, thank you, thank you, thank you. Chef Nina, thank you so much for being my co-host and for being here and present. Yeah, next week we're here, same time, same place. Like Will said, be yourself. Everyone else is taken. So yeah, see you next week.
Thank you, fam. See you, Will. See you, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Thank you.